started the recording, still hear the back. There we go. So I'm going to start roll call. Tommy Jones.
Present.
Debbie Strelling. Present. Michael Elizabeth.
Present.
David Montoya.
Present.
Dana Giacchi. Here. Diane Layden.
Here.
Debbie Dodge.
Present.
Joseph Lopez. Joseph Lopez.
Present.
I think we're missing.
The only one we're missing is Jim Stewart, and I think he notified us early that he wouldn't be here. So it's with excuse. And so let me welcome you all to this constitution of the sword. Happy New Year. And I'm pleased that we have the sheriff with us. We've been saying sheriff-elect for the past couple of months. It is confirmed that he is Bernalillo County Sheriff, and we're grateful to have him with us. With your permission, I'll revert the order of the day, and we'll go ahead and take the sheriff's comments and then revert to our agenda if there's no objection. Hearing none, Sheriff, you have the floor.
No, thank you so much. Great to be here with you in person instead of seeing everybody on Zoom Teams. Something we've done, we're doing a lot of projects at the sheriff's office right now. One of the biggest things, like I always said, is I'm very concerned about data, hotspots, and crimes and things of that nature with all of Bernalillo County. So right now on our website, the crime data is down because we're reconstructing it. So I've been looking at a bunch of the crime data that we do have. A lot of it hasn't been put out there, things that I did not really consider appropriate that wasn't out there. So we're adjusting that now. So it'll probably be down probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We have to also get some permission from county IT, which we're working on some infrastructure. If we saw before on the crime data within the website, there was something on there called City Connect. And what City Connect did is, if you know, you can go on hotspots and crimes. The infrastructure is not there right now. I'm trying to adjust some IT measures within the county, see if we get some people personally working for us from the sheriff's office. That way we're not waiting or county IT always does a great job. I'm not saying they don't, but the communication has not been there. Some of the crime data I also saw was, I didn't know when I looked at the history, it was very skimmed. There wasn't a lot there. And I did find some data on amount of times it's taken us to get to calls. And that wasn't on the site, so we'll be doing that also. So as you'll see, probably beginning of February, you will see the crime stats for what we have for January, and then we will also backfill it up to February. And that way that should get us on track. What I'm looking for is also public comment on what people would like to see and what they're interested in, because as I told you, the structure's not there. A lot of the data that I was looking at the other day in terms of IT nerds or what have you is that a lot of the data is very dirty. And what I mean by that is it's very different from what we're getting from dispatch and what is being put into our RMS system. I'll be very transparent with you. Our RMS system, I think, is way behind what it needs to be. It's not working for our deputies. It's not even working for me. I can't get.
RMS is what, Sheriff?
RMS is our report management system. And it's ran by Motorola. It's far behind. We're trying to have them do some of the things they promised us to make sure we get that crime data, and also make it efficient for our deputies if they go to a call. That way their body worn camera goes with the reports and they're putting their case numbers in there. It's causing a lot of work for our deputies and adding paperwork and really taking down the return time we're having for calls of service on response times. So I'm trying to make things efficient for our deputies. One thing, I just had a meeting with District Attorney Sam Bregman. One of the things that we're also looking at with our body worn cameras is for cases to be adjudicated, instead of them being dismissed because a body worn camera wasn't there for whatever reason. It's very difficult for our deputies to go back in, go back to the driver of their vehicle, get all of their driver's license and all their information to put into the body worn cameras. So again, we need to discuss civil rights in that area. If they're a passenger of the vehicle and they don't want to give us that information, how do we input that to our body worn camera system? So a lot of this stuff hasn't been looking at on the hurdles our deputies are facing, thus bringing back, let's be real about it. If you have a happy employee, like I've been saying, you'll have a great product for the community. And right now, that's causing just more work for a deputy being on the call and logging things for the technology that should be working for them, not us working for the technology. So that's something we're trying to fix. So there's been no deadline. We just put it out on our social media. I'm pretty transparent on our social media what we're doing. And I said crime data is down. So hopefully by the beginning of February, we'll have it up. And there'll be some people that don't like some of the stats they see, but I'm looking for that, honestly. I do want contrast and see what the community is actually interested in and what they would like to see. Some other things we're dealing with, of course, the legislative session is going on. So we're looking at, of course, our capital outlay and what I'm trying to do for unincorporated areas. And I met with another All About Technology because we are low on the people that we have. I'm trying to go for ShotSpotter to push into the unincorporated areas. It is good, but I'm looking for a new, I think it's New Vision or New Sound. I had a meeting last night to about 6:30 or 7. I'm also looking for technology, not just for shots fired in the area. I'm looking for drag racing, for vehicle break-ins, glass breakage. So I'm looking at technology that can do a little bit more and that is also not as new, but established a little bit, but it's not as expensive. It's difficult for me to go to the commission or even senators or representatives and ask for funding if I haven't researched other companies and different technology to see what's efficient. So I'm asking this company, let's have another meeting with them. I can put it in a certain area to see if we really like it and push it into the areas of the county. Thus, that leads to a bigger project for us. I really do want to seat someone at the RTCC with the city. I went and toured that facility with the mayor and Chief Harold Medina. And it's huge because our dispatch does a great job. They're overwhelmed enough. And a lot of this technology just adds more things that they need to do, such as pinging, pop-ups coming up on their screen on where a crime or something else occurs. I'd rather have a technology team or person at RTCC to make sure they're cooperating with dispatch 911 calls, complaints, to say, hey, we do need to send deputies to that area, because what people forget, technology can also lead us away from hoaxes and wasting our people power and where we're at, so we go to priority 1 calls. So we're working on that project also. That's one of the reasons I hired a Major Holly Anderson in her department. She's doing quality control, looking at all of our projects, talking to all our deputies, our detectives in every division. Because again, we need to make sure what works great for our people with boots on the ground per se, to make sure that we're giving that service to our community, which is very important. And we're going to make mistakes, and I want to make sure and know what they are. No longer do I talk about past administrations. It's my responsibility now, and that's what I take serious. So we need to evolve and move forward, and you do that with technology. Trying to ask for, we're not competing at all right now with pay. Pay isn't everything. It's also about the culture, but right now it's about pay. And having to compete with just not Santa Fe and regionally, and I'm looking at some studies, Albuquerque Police Department, State Police, Santa Fe County. And the reason being is we are down 37 deputies and more coming. And to put that into light, 37 deputies in totality means that technically I can't man the North Area Command Station. And that's huge for us. And that means it's also unsafe for our deputies. For backup calls, if we have a priority 1 call comes out, murder, homicide, kidnapping, things of that nature, but they can't be proactive. And proactive doesn't always mean pulling somebody over. I hate when people use it that way. It also means our engaged community policing, which I'm getting out there, talking to our community, finding out their concerns, finding out their problems, making sure if there's something they don't know that the community member who they see every day, they'll be able to communicate with somebody. So we're trying to do that with getting our numbers up. Our plan to do that is seating class 45. I've always said quality to me is more important than quantity. I've already denied a bunch of background. I'm very picky about that, but also looking at a lateral academy, which bridges the gap of getting our numbers up. Everybody says you have to be careful with laterals. You do and you don't. I was a lateral, so I find that a little bit disrespectful, honestly. But people are always wondering, man, what are they running from? That's not always the case. It's always about an opportunity. But what I will not do is rob Peter to pay Paul. And what I mean by that is if I have 20 people from Albuquerque Police Department that puts in for our lateral academy, I would have to limit that because I'm not helping any of us that lives in Bernalillo County. I'm just taking from another department, putting it great for us, for our numbers, but not great for all of them. So I'm looking at that also and seeing how many people we have that put in. We're hoping to do our lateral academy sometime in June. So my long-term goal, hopefully within a year, we'll be back where we need to be, but there will always be an attrition rate, whether that's resignations, whether that's terminations, things of that nature. That's the numbers that we're trying to. So that's about it. If you have any questions, a bunch of things we're working on. It's like our third week in office. My executive staff is already yelling at me for doing working lunches because we've been working 16-hour days. But we're excited, but there's a lot to do. So just like even with the data I was telling you, that has been very challenging. So I'm trying to find some type of bridge where we can at least get something up to where we just improve from there. But at the same time, not going so fast to where the infrastructure is not available and then we're biting off more than we can chew. Too fast to make sure we have a good foundation.
Well, we thank you for being here and for that presentation. I'm sure there are questions, and since Mr. Matoya's got to leave right away, I yield to him for his questions before he goes. I think that North Command might be something he's interested in.
I'm glad you're on that. I see those guys every day. A lot of times on El Pueblo, make sure I'm going 25. I just can't say enough about, and I said this to the previous administration too, that the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department is a world-class elite law enforcement agency. And they're doing a good job out there. And I like those guys on the north side. I guess a big question for me is the one that's been in the news lately with this targeting of Democratic elected officials. I know that on the intel side of the house, you probably track cartels and things like that. Has there been any thought to gathering intelligence on folks in political violence, things like that? I mean, we've had 2 of our county commissioners' homes attacked, and that's not good. I don't think that the cartels have ever targeted elected officials in the past, but I'm concerned just from the integrity of our elections and the process, that there are folks that up until 2 weeks ago, I thought this could never happen in New Mexico.
Yeah.
But we know there are folks that went to January 6th to storm the Capitol that are in this community. Any thoughts on building a watch list or keeping an eye before something like that happens again? It's a huge concern for me. Because most of my friends are elected officials, and it's one of those things that this isn't just one guy. This is a guy who managed to build a ring of domestic terrorism. I think it's really important that we take a real close look at some of these election deniers in the county, folks that may have gone to January 6th to try and overturn the election, and keep an eye on them. We've got gangs, we've got cartels, we've got all sorts of crime and criminals out there. And yet political violence, things like the attack on the Speaker Pelosi's husband in your house and the targeting of Democratic officials. Has there been any effort to sort of keep an eye on folks that we think may commit violence?
Specifically for the sheriff's office, no.
Uh-huh.
We haven't. I'm pretty sure our Fed partners do. There was always some type of watch list. Intel's always flowing in.
Yeah.
And we make the appropriate security protocols. We never put out a list so everyone can see it, because sometimes, as you know, which we knew from the beginning, is you see a lot of something like that. There's always some type of nexus or some type of team. It's
Right.
hard for someone to do that by themselves.
Exactly.
I really believe, because now the collaboration that we have with all of our departments and the communication we have, a lot of intel starting to flow in and we're communicating. Like I said, I really want to show that unified front in my first week. And we're getting a lot of intel to where we're not stepping each other's feet, but we're working together to be like, man, we might need to look at this network. We might need to look over there.
Yeah.
So I haven't had any serious intel briefs on what you're specifically speaking of. We are aware of people. That was an unprecedented event, which unfortunately, I believe, seen into the future, is not going to be unprecedented anymore. It's going to be a free-flowing system in terms of violence toward elected officials. So right now, our main concern is also the security of our commissioners. That's one of my main responsibilities as elected officials, but also to have some type of not avenue, but a communication of calling me directly or a head of a department to say, hey, this happened. Some guy came to our door, as we've seen during this investigation. Didn't feel comfortable. It's abnormal. We need to know that.
Yeah.
And as far as databases, you have to be a little careful with those at times, with all the other rules and stipulations that we're always worried about. So we'll be developing and talking to Fed partners, and that's something you do need to look at federally, because a lot of times networks will go across county lines, state lines, and expand.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's been my biggest concern, man, since is that and how it's directly affected the county commission, you know? I mean, it's huge. It's one of those things that we said will never happen here, but it's happened here. And it's not just a lone wolf. No, you know, it's a network of guys out there to do bad stuff. So, yeah.
Well, we appreciate you giving voice to that concern and you addressing it. I don't want that to dominate your entire trip here.
No.
I think in my invitation to you, I mentioned a couple of things that will come up in our annual report, and I'd like you, if possible, to address those things. I think one was the On Patrol Live. And my understanding is that so far we're not on Patrol Live, and I don't know if you have if you envision a future plan for that, or if that's it for On Patrol Live, or if you've had enough time to really assess it.
I assessed it before I was watch everything. And like I said, I'm a weird kind of guy. I do surveillance. I do all kinds of different stuff. I've been a cop for so long. But On Patrol Live, like I said, my main reason is I want us to focus on crime. I don't have time, and I even spoke to some other high-ranking officials in the previous administration, and I saw it was difficult to schedule. You're adjusting deputy schedules. I don't even want to worry about that. And in terms of, I have dealt with this, and I did the mobile crisis teams, people's rights on HIPAA, and so many other issues I don't even want to worry about or entertain. I did speak to Matthew Gates, I think he's executive producer, I believe. I spoke to him and said, hey, call me in April. Let's see where we're at. Not saying I'm getting rid of it or I'm bringing it back. I always examine and keep an open conversation. And I always like hearing both sides of each story, because I believe that's fair. I believe that's transparent, to see what they say. And their first comment to me was, I believe it helps in recruiting. For me, I'm a numbers guy. I haven't seen that. I'm sure it does. A lot of people are very angry at me for taking it off. I understand that. I'm an elected official. I hear all opinions. But I don't believe it's not my job to be very harsh here to entertain you. My job is to, quote unquote, I hate always saying to fight crime, but be smart on crime and have the plans for that. I believe transparency to the department, if people want to see that from an entertainment value or recruiting aspect. I believe that should be done internally through our own social media and what we pick. And maybe at a later time, if they come up with a great stage, I'll listen to them. But I won't say yes or no. I always listen to every argument, because things evolve, things change. But for now, I have no immediate plans to bring them back. A lot of deputies are actually happy because it was a pain. It really was. And I looked at the scheduling that they had, and I just didn't agree with that personally. I said before, I was in America's Most Wanted, and it took a lot more man hours for me to organize how that would be ran. And I just didn't have time for it. I was trying to get cartel members and serious murders.
Well, thank you for that. I think the other issue was the symbols on the recruiting cars. Has that issue been brought to your attention? I think I mentioned it in the letter. And
yes, that car is parked right now. And like I said, I think for the recruiter tool to be more, you always want an amalgam of things on your recruiting vehicle to represent the community that you serve and the people and the demographic that you're trying to recruit. I believe personally that should be of our people, not of any other symbol, because the symbol can be taken the wrong way. I saw that symbol, and I agreed and disagreed with some of the comments. I'm a crazy guy. I love reading all the comments. But people are talking about flag law, flag protocol. I agree with some of them. I know flag protocol, but we shouldn't be there to where it's so controversial, because then again, the community we serve, to me, you're never going to please everybody. You have such a negative connotation of the department. That's not the message I want to send, specifically coming into office right away. That's very important to me. So just make it about our people. And, you know, when you're listening to the community, the complaints that came in here, and looked at all of that, what makes people angry, what triggers them, what do they not like. But at the same time, what is your department going to represent you? So that's what it's.
Thank you for that. I think kind of a global issue is where do you see your relationship with this board? Of course, Sheriff's Office Advisory and Review Board, the ordinance was passed back in 2020, and in a time, I think, where there was some controversy, I think specifically about the body worn cameras. I think it evolved into some other things, perhaps enforcement of the protocols around COVID. But, my sense as chair of this board is we're wondering if the sheriff and the commission still see a role for a sheriff's office and advisory and review board. And what, obviously, we appreciate you being here personally. That hasn't always been the case for us. And so, we want to make sure, as do you, that we start out on the right foot. And if sincerely there's not a role for us, we're volunteers. It's probably not going to hurt our feelings entirely. But certainly we want to give you the opportunity to have some voice in shaping what we can do for Bernalillo County and its citizens. So,
No, I don't. It's many people get mad at me on this. I don't have a problem with this. I said that before. I don't have sword is what I'm speaking about. I think it really, I don't want to say, well, it does. I mean, it holds you accountable. A specific elected official is different. But for me personally, and everybody doesn't agree with me, I like contrast. I really do. I like to hear ideas. I think this is a board for the community to give ideas if they have a complaint, because we've always seen that if it comes to the department, some get filtered and all the questions are answered. And I think it gets more buy-in to what we're doing, and everybody, it drives me nuts that everybody keeps talking about transparency, but it's really not there. I think this board does bring that. And there's ideas, and I'll be upfront with you. I've seen some crazy ideas and I've seen some great ideas, and everyone's thinking differently. But like I said, you might hear a comment or an idea. And for me, how I've always operated, anything I've supervised, I'm like, wow, I never thought about it from that angle. That's interesting to me. I just like to delve into things and research them and see if it can be something for our department. So, and at the same time, I think if you bring in, I came here and said today, don't want you anymore, there's not a role for you. I believe immediately you said starting on the right foot, that brings an adversarial relationship to the community we serve. Because right away I ran in transparency and talked about it. What would I be doing? I'd be negating everything and contradicting everything I said. So I think it's a good avenue. I think also it'd be a good avenue for you, and I know it's been adversarial with the sheriff's office, but for people that are interested in training and community ideas. Everybody was saying in the law enforcement field, hey, those people need to be in law enforcement first, and they need to be completely trained like we are. Again, you're volunteers. I think there's some hot topics that all of you, I'd love for you to put on a piece of paper that you're interested in. Seeing like, hey, we would like to be trained in this area. We're curious on this. That goes in concert with what we're trying to do with our Citizens Academy, is updating and doing the different curriculum. But let's be honest here, the Citizens Academy is 12 weeks. Not everybody has 12 weeks. So I'm actually looking at, instead of everyone always coming to my office, that's why I came over to you. The county pays for a car for me to go to areas. The sheriff's office goes out to the community and serves. And what I mean by that is we're looking into, and Captain Pico, or Lieutenant Pico is about to be promoted next week. We selected, had a great idea on, hey, how about we get the Citizens Academy and we go out to the community, like you said, John, in the campaign. But at the same time, it might only be a weekend. Yes, we have to do the background checks, things of that nature, but it might be a weekend. It's condensed. You feel like you're part of the sheriff's office, you have more questions, and then you might be like, I want to go to that 12-week academy. I think I want to go further. I think that's something we need to do to get buy-in from our community. Because as I've been out here and been part of the sheriff's office, my personal opinion is not always correct. I don't think we've been out in our community enough. I went to a lot of events. I'm everywhere all the time. I still am. And I don't see the sheriff's office. I want to be everywhere. Talk to now Chief Alan Banks in Texas right now. He has a great program. I don't need to travel and look at it. It's just about being everywhere. And that's why I even posted on social media who I met with from different communities, different ethnicities. I want that. I believe people that'll bring more, not an adversarial thing. Relationship, it'll bring ideas and people to voice their concerns. So I think that's very important.
Well, thank you for that response. And lo and behold, we have people who've gone through, well,
I did go through that.
and just had a fabulous experience as she.
I did. I
related
thought
us.
everyone should do it, but in lieu of that, since everybody doesn't have that time, maybe there's an opportunity for board members to do ride-alongs once in a while or something to really, I mean, that
And
just
that's been
changed my whole view
That's
doing
been
that.
offered to us as well. That's
Yeah.
been offered to us as well.
Well, I know we did, that Larry Corn offered us to fly,
Sure.
but yeah.
No, I think that's important. Like I said, for instance, I brought it at the CNN Law Enforcement Academy. And I just put in some capital outlay requests for VR system, because like I said, I really believe in technology. And I brought that to CNN Law Enforcement Academy, because you're in a different world. None of you have been in VR. It's pretty cool if you don't get too much sick. That is. But I felt some of our technology was way outdated. And what I mean by that philosophy and ideals, because it's always like a deadly force situation, yes or no. But we're never looking at, hey, this person doesn't have the maturity level. They come from a different area, different way of life, different ethnicity, different background. At the same time, that VR system also is very important to me because it reveals and confirms implicit bias. And what I mean by that is, if anyone here says they don't have implicit bias, they're lying to each other. Our job as law enforcement trainers is you have bias. We need you not to act on it because you need to be fair. That's the oath that you take. And then at the same time, always saying, hey, this is always deadly force or it's not. Well, what's in between? There's a bill I'm looking at now for de-escalation. Can this person speak? And we know the newer people that we're getting, it's this cell phone and this texting, and a lot of people have different challenges at social skills to keep it professional. And so we're trying to reveal those and let them be comfortable with the community they serve and speak. And at the same time, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. That's what this job is. Yes, it's very dangerous, things of that nature, but I think that technology will really bring a different light. And it also lets you record. It also lets you correct. The teaching environment of just yelling at the person, telling them they did it wrong and they move on to the next scenario is no longer seen. I'm huge on training. Hey, you made a mistake. You need to correct it. Hey, you've made a series of this mistakes in training. Now to the trainer, it's a yellow flag to us of, man, I don't know if this person is ready to do this job. Where do we go from here? And have we done every teaching modality and concept to see if this person can succeed and make sure they don't make a wrong decision when something's rapidly evolving at a later time? That's where I really like to bring the training environment in and also to see, for the community to see what we do. But those are the things I'm looking at. You need to think more outside of the box. Just like another reason I brought the major in, law enforcement got mad at me once again, flying with feathers. But I brought business community in on our transition board. And I wanted people to look at our department from a project management standpoint, how things flow, and look at our chain of command and make sure this is something that I need to adjust. We're not always right. None of us are. We always make mistakes, but I wanted an outside eye, thus SORB is an outside eye also, to bring ideas. Whether we do them or not, I think we need to yell at each other across the table. Just you can agree to disagree, you can come up with ideas. It's something to make you think and you're not so on the path of just the status quo.
Well, thank you. David, you got to go?
Cool.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
See you, sir.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Better you
Good
than
luck to
anybody,
you.
any of us.
Good luck to you, man. And,
I'll be on in Zoom.
okay.
Oh, we had to do that magic act again.
Yeah.
I think it was snowing a little bit.
Snowing.
Yeah. It was so
It was good to see.
Other questions for the sheriff? Mr. Wisman?
I'd just like to capitalize on some things that have already been brought up and underscore them. One is protection of elected officials. I was an elected official at one time. It's near and dear to my heart. I hope you continue that.
You know, we're also like a step away from it. We're appointed. I haven't heard anything here, but let's be mindful.
But our addresses aren't out in public.
Let's hope.
Well,
I haven't seen, like, they're not on the Bernalillo County website,
no, but
They don't.
it's easy to find that
but
stuff.
the county commissioners work now, but I think it's all. thorough.
It takes a couple of steps, but you can find almost anything.
Well,
And I interrupted Michael with that comment, so please continue.
The other thing that I wanted to represent to you is that, you know, one of the, when you talked about the patrol, on patrol issue, one of the comments that we got, or from a couple of different residents, was that they were surprised at how professional the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department was and really showed what they have to deal with every day. So that was, you know, the positive comment, but I think you get the same reaction from the professionalism of your deputies, the way they act every day, day in and day out. I live in the East Mountains, and so there are police force, and they are well respected there. And just like David said in his area, they present themselves well, and that's advertisement on its own. Yeah, I personally don't think you need a TV show to broadcast it. That's just my input.
No, we do. And like I said, there are people that I've trained and people that I'm meeting now because I was absent for 3 years. Great people. And I spoke to them, and a lot of them, even with the ideas I'm bringing, I think it was a shock to them when I asked them what their ideas were, what they want to do every day with police work. Because a lot of people that aren't on rank, people could forget about them, but they're the most important. They're the ones out there every day. And they have great ideas, and I want that to be heard all the way up to me. I don't want it to stop and then I kind of hear about it. That's very important to me. That's part of transparency internally with our department. And like I said, I'm very upfront with the decision making that I'm making now, and I think people aren't used to that. So giving people time to adjust, I'm very upfront with what I'm doing. But I always research everything. And like I said, might be an idea that's bad. Someone might be like, John, you know what? I don't think that's a good idea. And for me, my mind works in terms of, well, why? And again, to see on the other opposite, if you're complaining, your solution. I know they can be negative and wake up. It's very easy to do. But what can we do to contrast or make a better idea? Even where you live in the East Mountain, it's cross-jurisdictional out there, and other departments are coming for cross commissions. And it's important for me also to have relationships with those departments and leaders, and also the people that work for them, to make sure we're working together. Because let's be honest, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office is going to have a quicker response in areas of the East Mountain that Santa Fe County covers because of the square miles. So that's very important to me also, just not the constituents and people we serve in Bernalillo County, but adjoining counties where we have jurisdiction.
The other comment I'd like to make is that you mentioned bringing yourself and your staff out to the community. We were wondering, because we have talked about it here amongst ourselves about going mobile around the community and holding a meeting at other places. So we were wondering if you were receptive to us having meetings at one or some of your command centers.
Oh, easy. Also, so you know, what I'll be doing is I wanted to make myself just not present here today. Some of the chiefs are like, let's go, like, no, I'll be there myself. And a lot of people are like, so, but what I wanted to do is my executive staff, I want one of them to be at each one of these meetings, just so it's familiar with faces. And then we all know we get busy and it's to alternate, everyone feels comfortable, but to show you that up there on the 5th floor on the perch per se of the department, we all communicate a lot. And we have meetings and we disagree on things, but what's the common goal and the purpose and the overview? It's very important to us. And that's why I want them here, because a lot of them too, people are like, man, yeah, sports it is. Man, I have no problem with it, really. Less. So bringing that culture, and if I'm comfortable with it, hopefully they can too. I don't think any of you bite. I hope.
Everybody who's come
I
here
know
from
you-
the sheriff's
I know you
office
might-
has come back.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so, no, but that shows, no, going out to the community and going to command center, I think that's important. We're looking at more coverage and expanding our department because of economic development and how the corporate areas are expanding. That's very important for you to come see our facilities. Now, when you're on commission facilities also, man, why are they asking for money again for the South Valley substation? Then when you see what we're asking for, it's more transparent. Like, oh, okay, now I can put eyes on it and see where the sheriff is coming from. That's very important. I think that's just great communication.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, and one is, for the Citizens Academy, as you said, a lot of people don't have the time for the 12 weeks. We had talked to Irish Sheriff Klein at one time about the possibility of putting some of that at least on video that's available, not just us, but to the public. And he said basically he wasn't supportive of it because he felt that having a video there would make people reluctant to voice their real questions or comments or whatever. But I thought maybe, you might be willing to at least look at that and think about what aspects of Citizens Academy might be effectively also put out on social media or wherever you could see it. I mean, obviously ride-alongs can't be, but lectures
On social media,
or some other resource.
I probably wouldn't do it on social media, and the reason being is I think it takes away from the people that were in the Citizens Academy. I want people to come to our Citizens Academy. I don't mind putting our information out there, being transparent. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I think it's kind of, this might be a very strong word, disrespectful to the past people who've been in the Citizens Academy and the Citizens Academy staff and people who run it that I still have to speak to. Like, hey, this was kind of our idea. We were going with it. We just don't want it out there where people don't apply to it anymore. But in turn, on contrast, like I said before, someone that's in the Citizens Academy that can't make it because of the medium sickness, things of that nature, technology and that can see us on Zoom. I think it's important to have access to that. For a department in the beginning there again, I wouldn't want to do that right away because I want to make sure and ensure that our personnel are getting out to the community because I think technology is great, but it's cause of weakness. For me, I'm looking at an online reporting system. Tradition of the sheriff's office is to always be face-to-face and people need that interaction with law enforcement. But at the same time, man, I don't want to wait 45 minutes for an hour for a fender bender. I can do an online report, or I have a barking dog call, or I have a neighborhood dispute. I don't want to wait forever. So you have to you have to find a good balance.
Right.
And I think you can have a balance with that, but I would keep it respect of the people that are actually in the Citizens Academy and have been accepted. Because you have to remember, there's also a nefarious element of crime out there that's also going to look at tactics and things that we do that I don't want to put out there. So I don't have to.
Second question I have is, I guess we've had as our liaison Deputy Carrillo for the last 6 or so months, who I have found to be very responsive and very helpful. And one of the things that she started doing was giving us a heads up every time SOP is revised.
Yes.
Because that's one of the things we're required to do. So I just wanted to make sure we'll continue and find out who we should contact. I mean, do you literally want us to call you, if we have a question about SOP, or is there some other liaison as well? Because you've got a million.
So you want us to be that transparent? No, and I gave, no, Chief Deputy Carrillo was great and awesome. I've known her for a while. I gave her a break. I said I would be here and she was happy. I'll probably have her continue to do that.
Okay.
There will be a lot of different SOP revisions. I think there's 2 sitting on my desk now. What I didn't say earlier is we're reorganizing the department. I don't believe I said this is, not to ignore your question, we'll get into it. Is the SOP revisions, as I reorganize the department, we're promoting next Friday. You're all welcome to come. It's at the Hispanic Cultural Center. We'll get an invitation to you. We're getting rid of some units and we're creating some new units. But like I said, you have to have the structure there. So for instance, after all the research I've done and I've seen specifically being an homicide, we have to have an auto theft unit. And an auto theft unit, before we started, Chief Carrillo is probably one of the masters of the department with policy and procedures is, and we want all our input on it, is to have that policy and procedure in place first. Because legality wise, you just can't be like, go forth and conquer and we'll figure it out. No way. I'm like, oh, absolutely not. So in terms also, we will have also a property crime, organized retail theft. So we have to have a policy procedure for that. So my goal was hopefully by around Valentine's Day, my vision and for the chiefs to run it, such as Chief Deputy Carrillo, is to run the department. We're promoting, switching personnel around, to be very upfront with my department and you. Tenure and time is very important, but I think someone here brought up Lieutenant Amy Dudowitz. Very important. Why would I not use Amy's talents to what she's been doing for so many years? And such an important thing. Like, no, you're new. You need to be out in the field forever. I don't think that satisfies the thirst for success, nor does it use her talent well. So that's some of the things we're doing. And what was the part of the question I did?
It was just under the
Oh, yes.
ordinance, we're required to.
Yes, you'll still get those. You'll
Great,
still get
that's-
those. And like I said, I want a lot of eyes to be on it. Like I'll even take it to people outside the box to look at things. And in terms of auto theft, what I'm doing, I told Chief Deputy Carrillo actually, and other chief actually, make sure that you compare this SOP to other departments, not just, I want it state police and Albuquerque PD here, but also regional wise, because you might find out some great ideas. Again, for me, overall as the sheriff, I'm looking at best practice. Because to be very honest with everybody, when you do an auto theft unit and you're going after, these are some of the worst offenders, it becomes very violent. I'm not gonna hide that from you. So the terms is, how do we de-escalate to a point? What techniques do we use to negate the use of deadly force? Your pursuit policy, liability areas, you just can't ignore it and be the Wild West. We're gonna go get all criminals. Trust me, I do, but I want to do it correctly. And at the same time, I'm huge on the civil rights aspect. We have to make sure, and we know that there's gonna be some adjustments, but you want that best practice there and adjust from there. Even with any policy you have, if you're like, we've had this policy forever, awesome. When's the last time we revised it or even looked at it? Have we looked at any current case law? So those SOP revisions, that's why I said, I think Chief Carrillo, she's like the master of the department on that. And she comes to my house, just leans on my door, I'm like, what now? So but that's the people that I need to look at that.
Well, that's great. That just helps us because for the first year we operated, when there was no communication about updates.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to try to go line by line when something might be revised the very next day and you're not know about it. So
No, and it's even
this is
hard
really
online.
helpful.
I went myself on our DMS. It's a pain for me. I'm a little old school in this area where I told some of my, so they said, please print me out a book because I like to highlight and circle things. To look for it, it's pretty difficult. If it's difficult, I'm pretty good at computers. If it's difficult for me, I can't believe how for all of you. It's really a pain. So I'm
Thanks for
looking at
calling
that.
us old.
Yeah, I think I heard a comment on some about, you, sir, about a reference on like Twitter. Like everyone doesn't know how to do Twitter,
Right.
Facebook, social, Instagram. It becomes annoying for people. Yeah, and Twitter to me, I'm like retweet that. So,
Yeah, my
yeah,
tweets,
sometimes
that's
it's a little bit of a pain. Something to be a little bit more accessible.
Thank you. Elena?
So speaking of the SOP, I think the revisions, of course, are important, but exactly what you were saying, I find that trying to find it online and finding specific things online are pretty difficult. So it's good to know that we'll be looking at how we can revise that so it is more friendly, community friendly, so that you can look. On SOP, some of the components was you talk about being able to answer community questions with open arms. And in the past, when there have been either citizen complaints or shootings, the sheriff's department has not been very open about those types of things at all. And so even when you request like a video, we haven't been able to get it, or if we have, one of the big things about that was it got edited. We didn't even know that was even a possibility, but what we were getting was not what the body camera was showing. And so that kind of does not ooze transparency. And so I was just wondering what you thought, how you would change that environment so that instead of investigating yourselves, if something comes up, what your ideas are to do something more pro-communities and balance with the force as well as just how we make sure everybody is heard in a balanced way.
Well, to answer your question, I'll have to bifurcate it. So I'll have to do one on technology and one on transparency and training. Editing, everybody, when you can edit a video, everybody says, man, we can adjust things, take things out that we don't want to. So a briefing that I just had today at noon is that's why body worn camera concerns me. And the reason I'm telling you this is so it's out there into the universe. Is once we get into a certain number of hours with the body worn camera, such as a SWAT call out, we have to clip our video because the technology does not allow us to keep it in the cloud because of all the megabytes. That concerns me because, as you said, once we edit it, people are very concerned on what is the sheriff's office hiding? We're not hiding anything, but it doesn't look good at all. And so when I just found out today, that is really affecting not only my spec ops people, specialty positions such as special weapons and tactics, but more importantly, our investigators during an in-custody death or a deputy involved shooting. That concerns me because now, as the sheriff, I have to look to see that body worn camera contract. Where are we at? Do we need to look at new technology? Which, yes, we do. I'm telling you. Can I get out of that contract? There's no way for me to fix that. I had no control over the technology that I brought in, so that's a huge issue for me. When I found out today, I had some pizza and I almost choked on the pizza. So that concerned me huge. But on the other side, I just spoke about this with the district attorney. As I said this coming up with Debbie Balshus, I used to investigate them. The MATF is a very good team, but I understand how people are concerned. So like I said, I won't bring up old news, but certain cases I had that were controversial, it shouldn't be waiting for me to get to the scene. It should be something into the effect of the sergeant running MATF for our side sees a conflict and immediately have the verbiage for me. If you see that, you tell another department they're taking lead and we're second. We would love, and myself and district attorney, I want to speak for him. Myself and the new district attorney are on the same page. I wish the AG's office could take all of them. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. The AG's office doesn't have the funding nor enough people. What I'm trying to do is bridge the gap of, hey, we have a very controversial shooting. I would love for the AG's office to be here, but I'm telling you again, that is not going to happen. They don't have the personnel. So how it works is we would still do the case and we would have to hand it over to them to review it. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Also on that side is, if the AG's office did take over, I really believe that the department involved into that shooting should be the AG's office liaison. The reason I say that is you never know if the AG's office will come against some type of hurdle of, we're going to delay. They don't know how the department runs, how to get body worn camera, how to get radio logs. Man, if someone actually trying to hide something, none of our investigators that we interview them are anything to try to hide evidence, but I can see where the community is concerned, where there needs to be more oversight. That's something that we are looking at, but that is going, I keep telling senators, the rest is going to be a lot of money. People want the AG's office to take over. A new AG, Raul Torres, he would, I guarantee you, if he asked me, I would tell him right now, if you would have to do those all over the state, you need to start with at least 20 to 25 investigators. And that is huge, and it's a lot of money. So how do we become more transparent to bridge that gap? And just what I said, if you see a controversy, and you see something that should be able to go to another department.
Yes.
Hi there.
Dr. Wade.
Sheriff Allen,
Yes.
I'm hoping that one of your top people will participate in the Metro Crime Initiative when the mayor gets that started again. Okay.
Already doing it, yeah.
Okay, the two people at the city who are in charge that I know of are Helen Maestas in the mayor's office and Damon Martinez.
Yes.
At APD. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Important, again, unified front. We have to.
Yeah.
There's great initiatives in there. Some I'm trying to bring, and it's a little different for me. Sorry, my phone. So many things going on here. Is not just new ideas, but for instance, I'm trying to bring violent intervention program in. That's something I have to ask for funding. Do I have to piggyback on another contract? Things of that nature from an administrator standpoint. But at the same time, I'm huge on behavioral health. I told people, I said, I'm very upfront with people. Bad news for we're taking time bomb. Not gonna lie to you. We're taking time bomb, so I have a meeting with the county manager and other people. I really need a behavioral coordinator. And the reason I say that is not just because of training, but all the stakeholders that are coming out of the woodwork now because of how open I am to it. That's also bringing all the issues and problems and the deficiencies we have as a department as a whole. And that goes into just like ACS with the city. And when I researched and met with our social workers, ACS is a great program. It's great to have a non-police response to certain areas. But for me, I think outside the box, where's the long-term follow through for that family? And I didn't mean any disrespect to ACS or Montiel at all. They do a great job. But But it's just kind of like, I was told, hey, they're kind of uncertain calls, they're patchwork. But that, again, I think it needs to work in concert with your social workers at the department. Where's the follow through? So just like the mobile crisis teams, they go to a call. We've taken steps backwards since I left, believe me. They go to a call, but they deal with this family all the time, but everybody forgets whatever happens to that person, what's their follow through. And that family, if it was something that was bad or traumatic, they're not gonna remember what a law enforcement officer tells them that day. So where's the follow up to make sure, hey, here's our resources, here's what you need to do, and to bring humanity back into law enforcement? That's what I'm looking at. So immediately I said I would love 4 MCT units and I would love 4 CIT units. That's difficult to do with the amount of people we have, but the structure right now of behavioral health for the sheriff's office is not there. I really need that behavioral health coordinator.
Yes,
It's
yes, yes,
huge. So
yes.
and that's something I'll ask the county manager once again. She's great, she's probably tired of hearing from me, but I'm like, this is something I don't want to wait for 6 or 7 months. If she asked me today, I would say I have some people in mind that I would need them here in 2 weeks. And on that note, for the behavioral health coordinator, that needs to be someone that has law enforcement experience because they know how the department and things run.
Yeah.
Believe me, when we helped start MCT, wow, but still is my brain, the emoji in your phone with the guy with the swirly eyes, that's how we were at every meeting. I was like, what the heck? So we really need someone who has the knowledge and has the law enforcement.
Well, Sheriff, there's but one more member. Joseph, are you still on?
Yes, sir. Still here. My video cut out for some reason.
That's all right. I certainly wanted to give you the opportunity to ask a question or make a comment to the sheriff before we let him attend to other things. Was there anything that you wanted to ask or say?
I do not have any questions, Chair, but I did want to thank you for being here, Sheriff, and look forward to talking to you in the future.
Okay, thank you so much.
And that phone going off may be but a reminder to us that we're monopolizing your time and we're appreciative. I think you got to meet everybody here and Mr. Lopez, we have but one more member.
Jim Stewart.
Jim
He's
Stewart.
the former sheriff from
Yes.
Texas. Have you met him?
I think you could, I think Jim's dodging me. I think that's what's going on.
He's dodging.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I talked to him at times on the phone, so I was waiting to meet him in
Okay.
person, but
Yeah.
we'll see each other soon.
Okay. Well, again, we're just appreciative that you would appear here personally and answer our questions and be open with us. It's appreciated. And we welcome a new day in working with you. So please don't hesitate. We have able staff here. I think you know Danette apparently.
Yes.
And Daniel, I don't know if you're aware of Daniel, if you met him. Floyd Lopez.
Vasquez.
Vasquez. Pardon me, Floyd.
I see Floyd come out with emails and Danny yelling at me about legal stuff.
Uh-huh.
That's good.
Uh-huh.
We know each other.
I haven't yelled at you yet.
So you're certainly welcome to stay throughout our meeting if you'd
Well,
like.
I'll go to my next meeting. No, great to meet all of you. Said I would be here, so we'll see you in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, see you soon.
Yes.
Anybody need a break? All right, let's
Let's go.
we'll revert to the order of the day. Item 3 on our agenda is consent agenda, approval of the minutes for the December 9, 22 meeting. Is there a motion?
I never got any minutes for that.
I think it went out to everybody, but I've got it
I
right
keep
here.
checking, I keep checking my email, so I don't know where those things are going.
It's in cyberspace.
It's in cyberspace, yeah. I'll look on I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't need to approve the minutes. I just,
No, okay. If you want to peruse them, though, they're
no,
right here.
well, I can look on the website, the county website, but I don't know why. I just kept looking. I pulled up your name and,
Did you check your
Nothing there.
spam folder? Because
Yeah.
everybody else got it.
I mean, that's the second time I
Yeah.
haven't gotten something, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I
Okay.
thought maybe there was a new process or something, but I'll double check again.
For
Well,
those
I'd like
of
to
us-
make the motion to approve the minutes.
It's been moved. Is there,
Second. These
Been-
ones have-
it's been moved and properly seconded, that we approve the December 9, 2022 minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approval say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The minutes stand approved. The next item on our agenda is election of chair and vice chair. I have asked Mr. Wismer if he would conduct that portion of the meeting. And so I will turn the chair over to him.
Thank you, Judge. So we have two positions, chair and vice chair. I'll go through chair first. If someone wants to nominate a person for chair, I will ask the person if they're willing to do that. And then call for any other nominations. If there's only one nomination, then we can just do a voice vote. If there's more than one, then we'll have to do a roll call with your help. Okay? Is that, and then we'll go chair and then vice chair. Chair,
I'll nominate Judge Jewel to continue as chair.
is there a second for?
Second.
Okay, so Judge Jewel has been nominated and seconded for chair. Are there any other nominations for chair? Hearing none and seeing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor, we'll go by voice vote of Judge Jewel being our chair for the third consecutive year with all of his wisdom and.
Wait.
That wasn't part of the motion. All those in favor of Judge Jewel as chair for this year of 2023, you can signify by saying, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Judge, you are the chair again
Again.
by unanimous vote.
Yeah.
I thank my colleagues for that and apologize for my shortcomings. We'll do better.
Is there a nomination for the position of vice chair? Yes,
I nominate Debbie Strongen.
we have a nomination for Debbie Strongen to continue as vice chair for
Yes.
2023. Is there a second?
Second.
We now have a nomination and a second for Debbie Strongen as vice chair. Any other nominees? Hearing and seeing none, go voice vote for vice chair for Ms. Debbie Strongen. All those in favor can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our leadership team remains in place.
Great team.
Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Wismer, and thank you all. The next item on the agenda is public comment. I don't think we have anybody else on the Zoom nor in the room. Danette, is there somebody that you know has intended to speak to us?
You were absent, maybe that's why you didn't get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's gonna send you? You wanna look at my minutes?
Okay. So we'll, I believe we've had all the sheriff's office comment that we're gonna get. So I'll move to old business. Item 7 on the agenda is update on the annual report for 2022. And it even says who will be present at the board meeting. I think today we received an email notice from Danette that the county commission will take our report up on the 24th, next Tuesday. And
Will you be attending?
it is my, indeed my obligation and my pleasure to represent the board at that meeting. I do not, yeah, that's right. I do not
We
care to be alone.
No, I'll go.
Okay,
I may show.
Okay.
Me too.
okay. All who care to, that meeting starts at 5. I believe we're number 5 on the agenda. I don't know exactly how much time it will take them to get to the other 4 items. It looks like it's,
Oh, that's for different.
I don't see anything that I know that is controversial. So hopefully they'll get to us fairly quickly.
I have a question. Do we know what amount of time? I mean, sometimes you can get 3 minutes and sometimes you get more than that, 2 minutes, yeah. And so I'm just wondering if they're gonna allocate a little extra time to present the report or not, or can we request it, or
Well,
we think we could do it in 2 minutes and.
It's like here, it's a discretion of the chair. So as we always say, 2 minutes is the standard, but it's the discretion of
Yeah.
the chair. How long they're gonna let you go.
Where's the commission?
let me say this, Elena, it certainly wouldn't be,
It could
Daniel,
they
you
had
had-
a county.
I'm sorry, it's next door. Coworkers were.
Yeah.
Oh, did somebody ask where? Yeah,
Where are they meeting?
right here in the chambers.
Yeah,
On
it's
the
right
other
here.
side of the wall.
They're probably.
Have you been in there at all?
No.
It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, you ought to go in, I don't want you intimidated by the majesty of that room, so.
Yeah.
So perhaps, somebody can get us in there and we can just kind of take a look at it before Tuesday, and so we'll be acquainted with the place. But what I was going to say is, it certainly wouldn't be my intention to try to read or even summarize, the report to the commission. The report has been with them. To the extent that it's possible, I'll try to preview whatever concerns that they have, so that we might be prepared for those. I would certainly want to introduce members and staff who are present, and I would certainly urge your assistance in addressing any comments, particularly about items that they may have concern about.
More items we want to highlight, 'cause I really appreciate the report, but I think that when I spoke to county commissioners in the past, I don't know if it's a substantial report. It was 93 pages? So that's a substantial report
That's
for
right.
anybody.
But most of that is appendices,
Yeah.
but it is a substantial report nonetheless. And the appendices are not much different than they have been in the past. It's actually an add-on. So,
And there is a summary in the beginning.
right.
It's like,
And the newer commissioners will read it all.
But yeah. uh-huh.
After their first meeting, they'll go.
As
over
did the
that.
sheriff. Did I neglect to ask the sheriff if he read the report?
I'm pretty
What was
sure
I
he read the
thinking?
report.
Yeah, I think you did, or.
Because he-
I would like to suggest that we mention patrol and the car, and also the candidate forum that we held in October. It's items we can call their attention to.
I think the car is kind of not being, I mean, from what I understood from what the sheriff said today, that car is not being used right
It's
now.
parked.
Yeah.
Parked.
Well,
So
these
that-
were things that the public brought to
Sure,
us.
and so the mention would not be that it's a continuing issue,
Right.
but
Just letting-
representative of issues that have come before this
Public
board
brought to us.
that we have passed on, addressed and passed on.
And it's a chance to mention the League of Women Voters.
Okay,
I think the two things that the public kind of brought to us, and that was the, TV show and the concern over the car. Both of those are no longer an issue thanks to the new sheriff, but also that we took those comments and took them to the sheriff as well. And I think that just shows, that it proves that this way of doing things really did work. I mean,
Yeah.
the community came, they gave us feedback. We know we can do things maybe a little bit faster next time, but that we did a really good job at transferring that to the sheriff and the concerns and listening to all sides. So I think those two things were really positive. that
Also-
we did.
And I'd like to add that the way that the Bernalillo County Commission structured the resolution that created this board and made it advisory in nature has been very helpful to us in being able to communicate to both the sheriff's office and the Bernalillo County Commission in an even keeled fashion. If you take what we're doing and compare it to what Albuquerque is going through right now with their
Oversight, yeah.
oversight board, they're now transitioning to advisory. So I think we should thank the commission for their
Mhm.
wisdom in the way they set this up as advisory to both entities.
Right.
I don't think they had the option to make it an oversight board. So the commission,
That's true.
yeah.
But I think highlighting the really positives that we have, and thanking
Yeah, the
them, I think is
positives.
really
Well,
critical.
the
It's-
multi, I'm sorry.
No, no.
The multi-agency task force, it sounds like the sheriff is also very alert to the issue of the potential for conflict of interest when, and weighing that against the practicalities of the situation. And he seems to be very receptive to the concerns of the community in that regard. So that's encouraging.
I'm sure my notes will not capture all that you all have charged, so.
So if we all go, we each get 2 minutes.
Yeah,
But, oh, yeah.
can't guarantee that.
I know, but the optimism that we have.
Next.
I think the optimism of having the sheriff present too is just a notation that we can highlight, is that at the very first opportunity that the sheriff could come to this meeting, he came and he was interactive and open and receptive. I think is always a nice
Yeah.
acknowledgement.
Yep.
And then acknowledging the people that are here, like the three of you did, because without them, we would be.
Yeah, Daniel would probably be in jail.
So I like that is also, they stood by your side through thick and thin, and so I really appreciate that.
And Floyd.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
He said-
David, Joseph, you both heard that. Was there anything that you wanted to add? Do either of you plan on being in attendance at the commission meeting on Tuesday, the 24th?
This is David. I'm gonna try and make it. Like I said, I gotta work it out so that someone can take my daughter to gymnastics. So if I get that done, then
He said he's gonna try to make it. He's gotta take his daughter to gymnastics, so.
Hey,
Joseph,
Judge,
go
this is Joseph. I gotta check my schedule as far as my practices go, but I'm gonna see if I can make it as well.
Hey, is that your son that's killing it over there at Rio? Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. He is having a pretty good year. We still have some
Yeah.
more work to do.
His son is a basketball star over there. Of course, Joseph is coaching
Ah.
over there as well. Yes, Danette?
So I did send you all the link to the actual agenda. So you just click on it, you can click on the agenda. On it. So you are on it fairly quick, Danny, and I just looked at it. So basically, they're just gonna do the call to order, pledge of allegiance, couple of resolutions, it looks like. Couple of
3.
motions, changes to the agenda, proclamation, and then you guys are up. So you're under the public comment area, and the reason being, just so many of you are wondering, there is no motion to be taken on it. There's no resolution, no anything, no budget attached to it. And just so you all know, I went through a lot of getting it on the agendas. Is there a budget? So budget called me, finance called me, all these people are calling me. Do you have to do an FAF? I'm like, no. The ordinance just says that they have to present this to the board. They don't need a vote on anything, but just so you know, everybody's just doing their job. So when we get on an agenda, I was going through everything. It is a lot to get on an agenda, so you all know.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And there's my
mentioning
thing,
that.
and I will be taking lunch orders for the rest of the here on out.
Good job.
Well, we
Yeah,
appreciate you running interference.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
And hopefully it will all go quick. And again, anybody who can is certainly welcome to attend in person. Is there an online version as well, Danette?
Yes,
Okay,
I sent you the link, so you just link it to it.
okay.
Right to the agendas, like the third meeting. Thank you.
And lo and behold, we will have a press release that goes out about our presentation of the report. Floyd, anything about that?
I'll send it out the first thing Monday. I'll attach the annual report. And I'll be sure and give a personal heads up to those reporters who have covered it in the past. And with any luck, they'll come and do some sort of follow-up.
All right, thank you. Anything else on that? Hearing none, we'll revert to new business. Discussion of the process for recommendations to the sheriff's office and the county commission in the annual report.
Is there something in the minutes you want?
Oh, no, I didn't know whether you guys did not discuss this at the
Not
last
really.
meeting. Yeah.
Debbie Dodge, I think actually this is a carryover from the meeting before then.
Yeah.
Isn't this your item?
Yeah, yeah.
Was there something you wanted to say on that?
Well, I mean, I think this time it came to the annual report and then we were kind of voting on whether this should be a recommendation or not. Then maybe we could, if the subject is the subject of a meeting and we all talk about it, then we vote then at the meeting.
We have a process by that, for that. And so it's not necessary that we come to the end of the year and vote on everything. It can be put to a vote in terms of how we give advice. So Mr. Wismer was prescient enough to include that in the process that he drafted and we adopted. Mr. Wismer.
And I'd like to say that in going over this year's report, and I had some conversations with the Vice Chair, Ms. Strong, about this. One of the lessons I learned from this past year myself is that as we take on an issue, maybe we should bring it to closure earlier so that we don't have to wait till the end of the year and we can send a recommendation to the appropriate body, the commission or the sheriff's office in real time, as opposed to waiting to try to collect it all in the report and then they get it at the end of the year. So I'm hoping that this year going forward, maybe we can keep that in the back of our mind as issues come in front of us that, hey, okay, we've heard both sides of this. Let's take a vote if we want to do a recommendation here, an advisory recommendation.
And certainly, Mr. Wismer, I'm not opposed to that, but let's keep in mind that a lot of these issues are fluid.
Mhm.
Our position, may change with that fluidity too. I mean, both of the I guess most publicized issues, the On Patrol Live and the car have come through some transition, as has the sheriff's office. So I know that we had this same issue with the report the last time we presented it. Well, do we really need to make a vote at the end of the year? But I mean, there's some fluidity. So if we can put some issues to bed early on, great. If we can't, I think what we need to do as we do is report that we've taken those issues from the public. Sometimes we opine on them. Sometimes we're not ready to give an opinion on them.
Right, we can wait too.
Sure.
Each one will be different, and I'm
Yeah.
not suggesting everyone that every issue we rush into. Let's just take a measured approach to all of them.
Sure.
A balanced approach, and if it means carrying it forward to the report, then so be it. If it means we are ready to make a recommendation, so be it.
And I think anyone who feels it's time to make a recommendation or take a vote, bring it up.
Right.
And I also think that when it has been discussed and when we take a vote, and that at that point in time, unless there's a real good reason to bring it up again, we should be satisfied with the fact that we've discussed it, put it out there, and we don't need to rediscuss it and try to re-vote on it again. It's like we've done this in the best way possible. I agree with the fluidity, and if there's a reason to bring it up, but a really good reason, then I think we don't want to just keep on bringing up things that we have done before. I also think that one of the places that we can be most prudent is making sure that we get feedback and participate in a better way with the report. There's no reason we should go through 12 revisions of a report. So I'd like us to really be supportive and figure out maybe for the next time next meeting that we discuss, like, is there interest in us taking pieces to help support that, it's like, oh, well, Jim can oversee some of those pieces, Michael, you can oversee some pieces that are within your wheelhouse that I have no wheelhouse in. And looking at the expertise around the table would be really valuable, and say, okay, I'll definitely buy into helping with this, and I will, support that so that it doesn't all fall on Debbie. Yeah,
Well, just don't think of it as a spectators.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I know that we've discussed a lot of things at meetings, but I don't recall us actually saying, let's vote on this to go as a recommendation. We've just discussed it and then it becomes a recommendation, but I think,
No, that's why they were submitted as drafts, and every single draft said it was a draft and open for comments, but for the most part, people's comments came, very, very late in the process.
that's why if we voted on a recommendation when it came up,
Well,
that wouldn't occur.
as I said, if we think something should be voted on at that point, bring it up, and if people agree, great.
Okay, what a helpful exchange. And I think we're all grateful for Vice Chair
Oh,
Strongman's
for
effort
doing that.
with those 12 drafts.
Yeah.
Just think, it could have been the election for speaker and it could have been 15.
Yeah, 3 more and you would equal this.
And then we could have said it's about damn time, like Lizzo said.
And the beauty is you never promised us anything. All right. If you all are ready, we'll address the next topic. 8B is suggestions for topics of interest to the community, for the community to focus on in future meetings. Any,
I would like to hear a presentation on behavioral health in law enforcement. I served on a behavioral health subcommittee for the BHI for 4 years. And I applied to serve on that committee because of my interest in the interface between law enforcement and mental health.
BHI is.
The Behavioral
Behavioral
Health
Health
Initiative that was approved by voters, I believe, in 2015, and generates about 20 million a year for behavioral health services at Bernalillo County. And while I was on that committee, I saw several presentations. There are lots of programs going on, but I would like to. Now, maybe there's someone in the sheriff's department who can tell us where this is.
well, the sheriff
Well, he
seemed to
brought that
indicate
up.
that he's looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
looking.
And the sheriff used some acronyms that we may not all be familiar with. Certainly I wouldn't, but I did think that he talked about AP, City of Albuquerque's community response.
ACS.
ACS.
Well, I'm on their list and I
Okay.
get their messages.
Okay, would that be an appropriate body to address us?
Well, maybe we could hear what they're doing.
Okay,
It won't hurt.
Mhm.
I know on the behavioral health side, I mean, they have someone that, because they came and talked to us at the Citizens Academy.
Okay.
That, they have people there for the officers, sheriffs, officers to talk to, because obviously they have a lot of stress and issues that they need to talk to after. So
Right.
they have that. And as far as what they really need is social workers to work with.
and we're just looking
Yeah.
at the topics right now.
Yeah.
Well, going back to Elisha.
But I mean, I think it's two different things.
Okay,
Yeah.
Going back to Elisha Lucero, that was one of the first, Elaine Maestas, going back to that,
okay.
and that being one of the major lawsuits.
What,
Maybe we could hear what ACS is
yeah,
doing at
Dr. Layton,
APD.
why don't you take on as a
I
subcommittee
like. keep
that
trying to
topic?
pick us out of
Danette,
here.
what did you want to say?
Dr. Layden, at the meeting that we're going to present on the 24th, that SOAR board is going to present, there's a lot of behavioral initiatives actually on there for vote. So we look through that agenda, and a lot of the key players that are involved in behavioral initiatives for the county will be at that meeting.
Okay, but they're not dealing with law enforcement.
They're dealing more with,
The program.
programs, but that's a good place for you to see some of the people we have on board, like Pamacosta deals with that. Like the sheriff said, we do have behavioral health care within the county, but he needs to cross it on over into the sheriff's.
Okay.
So I don't want to get us into a complete substantive discussion of that topic in isolation and exclusion of other topics. I think that global thought is an important issue as the sheriff has given voice to his need to firm up that area of his command. And so I think it's a good topic, whether it's internal or external
Yeah.
or both. And I think we could be helpful to the sheriff's effort in that regard. So Dr. Layton, if you would head that subcommittee,
Okay.
please give that a thorough.
Debbie, will you work with me?
Mhm.
Okay,
I know, because my friend is very concerned about that.
okay. I would just like
Is
to
your friend
suggest
with
that
us?
a
No.
meeting.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe we may have to have a little substantive conversation. Okay.
Could we have a representative from the ACS at the city come talk to us maybe in April or May?
At the city.
We don't have any thing on an agenda for April or May, so I suspect
know.
that
Well, what
that
I'm
would be
thinking is,
fine.
can we hear what's going on in the community?
Yeah.
Just to know better what, what the standard is,
Mhm.
what's happening with that program at the city. Let them talk to us.
So Dr. Layton, now,
I'll look into it and I'll
Okay.
get back to you.
okay,
Okay.
wonderful. Other topics of interest?
Question on your own internal committees. I don't really have like a list of what committees we have.
Well, I think we need to compile one.
Maybe
because
it'd
that-
be good if I could get some feedback on what committees you
We
guys
have
are
a-
in and I
a
can
report.
compile one.
I'll send you a
Yes.
bill.
Yeah, it's on the report, I know,
Yeah.
but like, as we do
Ongoing,
ones.
yes.
Yeah, we need. to-
Minutes will reflect that, but I know a concern of Vice Chair Strongen is that these committees kind of take over ownership of those areas in the annual report. So I think it's a good idea to have a listing.
I would
and-
just like a list too, as.
And one of the expectations be that those that those subs have input on an ongoing fashion into the shaping of the annual report.
It would be good to have and put on the sort of website too, like. the
Sure.
Committees that we have.
Absolutely.
That are on there.
Very good.
Okay, so a list of committees, other topic discussion areas.
Well, for me, I think when we look at
Well,
the
someone want to
Sheriff's
say something
Department,
there.
I want to take a
Justice
look
got
at doing some of the things that we were talking about. And that was the video editing, the pieces that both the sheriff is working on to kind of revamp that system and also like the body worn cameras and those types of things. And then just trying to firm up about the citizen, if there's a citizen complaint, or making sure that every single time on the site, we could say, big bold letters, we're here to listen to, there's a citizen complaint, maybe putting it out to some of the community organizations out there and letting them know that we're willing to, like the behavioral health, or like, the homeless coalition, whatever that is, so that they know that we're interested in getting feedback from them as well.
Okay. Other topic areas.
So wait, are you saying that you want to have video editing as a subcommittee?
I think just the video component of, because he said he was looking at like maybe doing a cloud, but something that we can take a look at. Because I know it was a concern when we started seeing video editing occur.
Right.
And then, when we asked, they go, well, there's a problem with the cloud, that would have taken on a whole different discussion than we're not going to release any more information and we're giving it to you. So I think just having that communication between the sheriff's department, understanding the advances of the video things as he walks down that journey and what the SOPs might be. When an officer does not comply with the video, and something happens and it accidentally gets turned off or something happens, so.
So that's something we want to address instantly to the sheriff and have,
Instantly?
well, I mean, yeah. Do you-
No, because they're redoing
Right,
Yeah.
I
the
mean,
system, yeah.
But just kind
something,
of continuing that conversation with the sheriff.
right. I guess what I'm trying to discern is, do we need a subcommittee on that, or is that
Yeah,
just
I will
something?
take that on.
Okay,
I'll take it.
and the citizen complaint, what do we need to do there? Is that PR? Is that something we just need to publicize?
Just making it more obvious and maybe sending out to organizations that if they have a problem, an issue or something that they want to even say, they did a great job because, Michael, you were talking about that and having that venue as well, so that it doesn't seem like we're always being, investigating or looking at something or anything like that, but also having the flip side, if someone wants to say, good job, that they can come in there. It gets noted in our notes as well. It goes to the sheriff's department. I think all of those are positive things.
Well, I'd like to highlight what Floyd had done for us when we were asking the question about whether or not people thought that real on live patrol thing was of value. And he put it out there in many different venues so that we got a lot of good feedback. And that's the kind of, that is spot on. That's what we need when we have issues, is to have that kind of outreach so that we get feedback back.
Even the Journal had a question on that. That
On
was
an
what-
ongoing basis, it would be great, so that people know that this, now that we have a sheriff that's gonna, listen and participate in a bigger way, that we have that ongoing.
And also, I think all of us, with our interests and whatever groups we're involved with that may have an interest, that we can also reach out
Mhm.
to them and, let them know how to join the meeting and so on.
There are limits, though. We only want to judge in front of the cameras on the.
Exactly.
I guess that is one concession I made to your vice chair, that I wouldn't stick her out there.
Unless
But I don't
in an
know.
emergency.
An emergency she'll do, okay.
Right, but I get to define emergency.
Anybody that calls.
Well, I tell you, Floyd has done a bang-up job.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It hasn't been
Honored to do
without
so.
its slings and arrows, so we really
Yeah.
appreciate that. You all may not know that he gets a little blowback from time to time, so.
I
So,
think we heard some of that blowback.
Yeah. And it's all settled down. I think we're all good now. Yeah.
But we wouldn't be effective if we didn't have an outreach to the community.
That's right.
You're that.
Right.
that's right.
Honored to be that person, so thank you.
Anything else? Items of interest for
I
Yeah,
have
this is
one thing to mention.
David, go ahead.
As the new as the sheriff rolls out these new initiatives, these new departments, auto theft, property crime, that once those SOPs are done, maybe we have whoever he's chose to lead each of those come and talk to us about what exactly that new division or new work group is going to do. And at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to get the updated SOPs. I don't think that any of that's going to go down till April or May, but maybe something in the future, that as he announces those things and he rolls those things out, we use our board as a catalyst, as a venue, to reach out to the public and explain how it's going to be different.
Well, I think even earlier than that, he mentioned the crime stats being on 1st of February. So I don't know, is anybody tracking that? I have not gone on the site to look at crime stats, but.
Yeah,
I did, and it says it's
It's
a
down.
work in progress
Yeah,
right
okay.
now.
and it's a way work in progress.
Yeah, okay.
So,
But we have an SOP committee.
Yeah.
You do have an SOP committee, but I'd like to to volunteer to start tracking what they're doing with crime stats.
Okay,
Just I'll watch the website and watch the initiatives that come out and report back.
okay.
and the data set.
And what
Thank
about
Thank you.
for David's idea about
Getting an
hearing from
update
the
on.
new units? David, do you want to take over following up on that? with the sheriff's office?
Yeah.
Great.
I'm happy to do that if you need me to
Okay.
do that. I mean,
Great.
my dad said when I joined the military, never volunteer for anything, but since I've already
But you've-
volunteered for this board, I can
Who
do that.
listens to their dad, David?
You've been voluntold for this subcommittee.
And Floyd, you
That's,
were.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
Lloyd had one.
I was gonna say that, yeah, we might consider continuing on the theme of the symbology. I don't know if anyone noticed that one of the last things that happened, I think the day before, at the end of the last sheriff's term, they
Yeah.
introduced a wall.
Yes,
That was, to
yes,
honor-
Debbie and I.
and it's beautiful. It also does use the blue line and black flag sort of featured prominently. And the idea of the blue flag, this is not limited to Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, but there is some controversy about the use of the blue flag, the blue line, and what does that mean? So it could be that just further defining what does that mean, and exploring that and thinking it through and seeing what does it mean. It's a good question because it is a little controversial, and so it's just good to have transparency on that.
Well, there's a religious,
Aspect of it.
That too.
So,
um,
right, I know the vice chair brought that to my attention, and there's, I think, is that a website or
no, it's,
It was,
a news story?
oh yeah, it was in the paper, in the journal, I think.
I have the
But
articles
it's,
still.
Okay.
it just, I think some people might feel that it's not inclusive enough.
The wall,
Yeah,
the heroes wall.
right.
Yes.
I'll look for the article and send it.
And
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll try to
yeah,
find
the-
that.
Debbie Strongman sent that to me.
Yeah.
But
I
We can-
think along with that, what
I'll,
was saying
I'll come up with the article from the
Okay.
journal about the heroes wall.
okay,
is getting community. I think some of this could be avoided if they got community input prior to, some of this. And maybe that will change, hopefully. But I don't disagree that that's something that we should take into consideration right now.
Well, I would like to go see that heroes wall up close. Is that in the sheriff's office somewhere?
yeah, it would be there at Roma, Fourth and Roma. Fourth and. in
I'm
between
gonna go
Fourth and
see
Fifth
it.
and Roma.
I think, at least what the articles I read talked about was that the families of the 4 heroes who we lost
Yes,
earlier, well, last year, they were all very much, wanting a memorial and that they supported this wall. And that I think is great. And, no dispute there. I think that's
Right.
wonderful. The question is whether, because this wall includes, I believe, all the deputies who
Going
have
back
been
to what,
lost.
1930?
Yeah,
Something
That
like
have
that.
been lost, yeah.
Right, that, is it just because of the symbology on there? Is it inclusive, enough? And
well,
then,
I think we have to bring that up because public funds aren't supposed to be spent on religious imagery.
Was it financed with public money?
Yes,
I think.
Well, they're little
And we're
pictures
sheriffs.
and, a few things.
I
but-
know this is very sensitive and I want you to know if we bring it up, there could be trouble. I may have mentioned in the past that the old county seal had a big Catholic cross, Conest of Asemos, with This We Conquer, along with the 8 sheep.
Right.
Okay, and that went to court and the 10th Circuit upheld that it was unconstitutional. But the person who brought it up had death threats. Okay, I mean, people are very sensitive about religious subjects. By the same token, we're not supposed to be spending public money on religious imagery.
Well, before we
Yeah.
take a position on it, let's investigate it thoroughly and
Right,
see,
absolutely.
see if there's
Okay,
public, see if there's public concern about it.
Absolutely, well,
I'm
I have to
thinking-
go, I want to go see it.
Yeah.
And
I
Is
think
that
that's a
something you
good-
could put
good
out
step.
there and ask for public comment?
You can just ask me to do anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I just want you to know this is gonna, it's
Yeah, it's gonna
sensitive.
get nasty.
Yeah, I don't,
And I-
So let's look at
We
it.
need
Let's
to
look
look
at it.
at it.
Yeah.
And we don't know all the, I
Yeah.
certainly am not comfortable that I'm on top of all the aspects
No,
of
I'm
this,
not.
such that I'm comfortable taking a position on it. So I welcome a look, an investigation.
And
at
you
it.
don't know whether it was done with
But before we
donations or
comment.
whatever.
Well, maybe it
I
was
don't-
done with donations.
I
That, that would be different, but
Yeah,
that's
I
not
don't
my
remember.
And
impression.
who was the artist?
I don't remember. It was,
Okay.
I think a husband and wife duo, and then, you know, we're
Oh,
not talking about a
send
lot
me
of
the
money. It
article.
was $1,200, I
Oh,
think
really?
was what they said.
That's
and-
not very much for art. That's
No.
nothing.
No, that
Wow.
wasn't.
Debbie was on the arts board.
I was chair of the city public arts board, so let me tell you,
Oh.
every piece of arts gets
Oh,
very they don't like the color of the art. They don't,
Well,
it's all controversial. So it'll get controversial.
But now the
I don't have
blue
any
line and
problem
the-
with the concept of a memorial wall at all. And
No.
I don't have any problem with the wall.
And
That's
in,
there
in,
as far as it
inside,
goes.
internal to their offices, not out in the
Yeah,
public,
the
even
only
though,
way to see. it is
even though their
going up to
offices
the
are a
sheriff's
public
department.
domain.
Yeah.
Don't,
Right,
don't
right.
get me wrong, but
could we
so-
talk about the blue line and the black flag? What do those represent? I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that if you do a Google search for blue line, I mean, I think that 20 years ago, it might be that blue line meant that police officers were not known for volunteering information about
Right.
things that went wrong. That was one reference that I think exists.
sounds like the blue wall.
The blue wall, the blue wall.
The blue wall of silence.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so now when doing research about the images that this board looked at, there are references to this blue flag that people allege that it has an association with nefarious groups or intentions. But I don't know that that's the case. And that's just, but if you Google it yourself, you'll see what people associate with the blue flag, and not all of it is good. Some of it is good. Some of it is like very pro-police, and that's great. But then other people have another interpretation about it that thinks that it's a little complicated.
Maybe we should all educate ourselves.
Actually, I
Yeah.
could send you a couple of links that specifically come from really well-known organizations that deal with, you know, all of the isms and, you know, some of
Oh, please
the
do.
things that are out
Please
there, so that you can just, you know, look at almost everything. And, you know, it's done by one of the Jewish organizations that tracks hate crimes and things like that. So they're very reliable.
Well, we would do well to be cognizant of stuff. And,
Mhm.
you know, we can't put our heads in the sand much longer. You know, there
no.
appears to be an attack on public officials afoot.
Yeah.
So let's be aware of stuff. And
Good point.
even with the on patrol live and the symbols on cars, it concerns me that SOAR kind of gets viewed as, you know, the kind of the whipping boy in that. Heck, you know, you got people from the sheriff's office coming here and saying, hey, you know, you're trying to backdoor us and stuff. Why wouldn't you bring that to my attention personally, rather than broadcasting that publicly? I mean, that we're a public
Mhm.
body. We're gonna bring these issues out publicly. But then there's the other side, you know, what is the community sentiment around that? And so I just want you all to be aware of that, and be aware of your surroundings. Check your walls for bullet holes, all that stuff. You know, you're kind of out there in the public now as a result of this.
And now we
Yeah.
have committee assignments. So
Yeah.
Well, and these officers, they get threats all the time
I'm
too,
sure.
not just while they're on duty. They get called all kinds of
I'm
names
sure.
and get all kinds of threats. So
Sure, yeah.
it's all, it's a scary world out there.
So we're 15 minutes shy of 2 hours. Let me see, is there anything else that's a topic of interest for future meetings?
just one minor administrative, we moved this meeting to 1 o'clock. I wonder if that works for everyone better.
Is that a continuing need
For another 2 months. it
for
would
another
be.
2 months?
Yeah,
Okay,
but after that, I can work. And even next month, definitely, I can maneuver if we want to go back on the March. I can maneuver that, but.
Would it be helpful to stay at 1 o'clock?
I mean, I like 1 o'clock.
Do you? Doesn't cut your lunch 2 hours short?
but- Well,
Look,
yeah,
look.
but I'm willing to sacrifice once a month.
Okay. I'm fine either way.
How does 1
So,
o'clock
so
work
are
for
we
you?
meeting
That's
at
fine.
1 o'clock on February 10th? What time are we?
Is
meeting?
that's fine with the
February
chair if
10th.
that's a consensus that we keep the
February
meetings
10th.
at 1? Okay.
Wait,
Is that good for staff?
Okay, can we ask Joseph and David?
Joseph, David, if I don't think David's on any longer, but Joseph is a
Not
1
on the
o'clock
10th.
start any
Okay.
problem for you? I know it's
Any
basketball
other-
season. We'll try to end these
17th?
meetings at a decent
Yes.
time.
Can we send a message to Jim Stewart and see?
yeah,
Could we move the February meeting?
Did you say no, Joseph? It's not a problem?
No, sir, I'll make it work.
I scheduled things
I think,
around the second.
Elena
I know.
And I've had to
I do too.
reschedule
of
everything.
February, but
Right.
she could do the 17th.
And if I don't make it on this one, I completely understand.
So,
Okay, so there's a proposal that we move the meeting to the 17th?
Yeah, at 1 PM.
Yeah, I'm fine with
okay, thank you. At 1 PM.
Yeah.
Okay,
Friday, the 17th. That's not a bad luck day.
that. It's not like the 13th.
I may already be scheduled.
We have on the agenda as well, suggestions for meeting venues in different areas of the county to reach out to multiple communities. We've touched on that a bit, certainly with respect to East Mountain. What's the appetite for getting out in the community?
maybe once or twice a year, maybe. But again, the question is, can we set up
Well, we don't have to.
technologically to be able to be on Zoom?
Yeah,
That's
We don't have to, I mean, it's not a legal requirement that we have Zoom for these meetings. So it's just a matter of having possibly more outreach, but we don't, if we have a meeting elsewhere that doesn't have all of this tech stuff, we don't have, all we, I think, are required to do is have somebody agree to take minutes if Danette chooses not to
Okay, but
accompany
without,
us.
without Zoom, there might be a board member who can't attend.
Well, then that would.
That's the way life used to be.
So here again, I don't think we're talking about Friday, February 17th.
No. that was-
And so I would ask Danette if we can get this room for next month. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and do that.
Right,
But I think I would like us in some fashion to explore whether we're ready to get out of this room and go out in the community. And if so, where we're talking about going, who, as a result of that, needs to be involved in making the decision about where we go.
Maybe by next meeting, we could at least bring recommendations to possible sites that we could have our meeting for the, this following year, whether it be 1, 2, or, something. And we bring recommendations to the board about where we might want to be able to do those.
Can I kind of charge us as a committee of the whole to bring
Yeah.
back recommendations for
Yeah.
potential meeting sites and?
Thank you.
Sure. I mean, we had already talked about the new library. Elena and I have talked about the possibility of going to a reservation, community center at a reservation, possibly that's if it's within the community, if within the county. And so, yeah, I think, why don't we put that on for next?
And let's not forget the sheriff's
I was
offices.
gonna say, yeah. I don't know that that will attract members of the community to come to the sheriff's substation, but that would bring us to the sheriff's department. And they would meet us, we would meet the people at the sheriff's department.
Wasn't there an issue about us just being able to take a tour? I mean, I'm happy to take a tour of the sheriff's office.
What issue are you thinking about?
Excuse me, we're discussing the legalities of it.
Yeah, we were just talking about, is there anything preventing this board to be able to just take a tour of the sheriff's department? Without having,
Together.
Do we need to be together? I mean, we could schedule a tour that's not a meeting, right?
You can
And-
just
and-
notice and say, store board's gonna take a tour, like there was the
Yeah.
host of the dinner for the lunch.
okay.
Exactly the same.
Okay.
I mean, maybe even shorten this meeting, you know, in March or something, and then we could. Right
Reconvene
over.
someplace else.
Yeah.
We're- we're not gonna be able to
maybe
walk
not right
over
over,
probably.
but it's pretty, you know, sheriff's department is pretty close by, so maybe making it at the tail end of the meeting or something, or to just walk over
I mean, we
or
could-
take a tour.
We go over individually, but then, you know, they're forced to do this however many
Right.
times, and that's
If we
not
did it
fair.
together.
Yeah.
Just a day and to go over, take a tour. I mean, there's not much to see, but, you know. Though there's the wall.
Okay.
There's-
You
So
know, you get
that's
to
one
see.
aspect of this, whether or not we have meetings, there, another aspect of it.
Mhm.
So, come with your ideas, it seems to me, at the next meeting about either or both of those.
Got it.
If we're gonna meet at one of the commands, I think we could schedule that in advance, like in May. Could we make that request now for a May meeting at the North Valley Command? Is that possible?
Why don't we wait until the February meeting, because I suspect we'll have a sheriff's representative based on what he told us. And we
Okay.
asked directly if we can do this in, say, 6 months.
Right, give it plenty of time and,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion.
And that's where we were gonna have it before, right?
Uh-huh.
The north area.
That's right. Any other new business? Any
I
other?
just
new
wanted to
business?
summarize for the purpose of the minutes,
Okay.
maybe just the subcommittees we've talked about
Okay,
up to now. So we have behavioral health and law enforcement, and Diane Layden and Debbie Dodge are going to look into that. And then just want to give you time to, the video editing issue, which Elena and I will look into, and, you know, anybody else who's here and wants to join in, just, you know, say something. Discussion of the new units such as auto theft on an ongoing basis. And David Montoya is going to do that. Monitoring the crime stats listing on the website is Michael Wisner on the sheriff's website. And then the symbology on things such as the memorial wall at the sheriff's office. Diane
well,
Layden
that's the heroes wall.
and yeah, and me and Floyd.
Floyd, would you
Floyd will
like to
help
be on the
us.
committee?
And
Can
maybe
I
we should
keep
find
you
out how it was funded also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, you can try to-
I'm not sure that that's,
Okay.
you know, I can just support. Yeah.
They need to show up.
How funded?
Danette,
Well, let's see what the article
this would
says.
indicate that the county's gone through their election and they've had leadership changes. So, Barbara Baca is now chair.
She's the chair.
And Adrian Barboa is now vice chair.
Right.
Yes.
Do I need to schedule anything with either in advance of the commission?
Okay.
All right.
That was Margaret.
It's okay if you do, if you want to meet with Barbara Baca sometime, I don't object. That would,
Yes.
just to make it personal.
Full disclosure, her dad was my vice principal in junior high school and gave me my first pass.
Who is that?
Barbara's dad.
Pat Baca.
Wasn't she with the city
I
before?
campaigned for Pat Baca. I can still feel my legs.
I think she was. Now,
Yeah.
her sister was a judge with.
Yeah, but I thought
Teresa.
her sister, I thought Barbara
So
Baca did
if
something
you
with the
would have
city.
any
but
doubt
I can't
about
remember
that,
what.
She did
you're
do
right.
something.
Parks
for
and
the
Recs or
city.
something.
She
like
did
that.
work for the
Yeah.
city.
That will.
Yeah, I've met her there before, but.
It wasn't that I was paddled that often,
No, Pat
Dr.
Baca
Latham.
lost to Lou Saavedra.
Lusa
Pat
Baker.
Baker.
Oh,
Lou
Lou
Saavedra
Saavedra, the
was
stealth
CNN.
mayor.
The stealth mayor.
Oh, yeah.
He found he had this big
Right, well,
pension
that's
deal
all.
with
That's-
CNN
We've
after
had
he
some
was
crazy
elected.
mayors.
Anything else to come before the sword? If not, the chair will entertain motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
moved and properly seconded, not debatable. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to?
Aye.
I heard that aye.
Okay,
We're adjourned.
I'm gonna go see the room.
Okay, let's walk over and see the room if we can.